What advice do you have to those fathers that are just finding out they're fathers or feel like they weren't good enough and they want to go back? What advice do you have that you could offer them?
Never be afraid to ask a question. I think that's one of the things about, you can, you're intimidated. It's intimidating. You get this little being in your hands. It's like, what is going on? Never be afraid. Never be afraid to ask, because there are good people out there that are willing to give that advice, if you ask. And that's our biggest thing. We got to get over that hurdle of being afraid to reach out. I'm Eric Walton. I'm from the Dad Evolution, and I'm also an early childhood teacher at Most Holy Trinity Catholic School. I studied Dad Evolution because not having a father around and trying to get the information out, like, how can I be the best person for them and be impactful, in their lives. When we found we were pregnant, it was like, wow, I'm like, man, it's set in like, I'm a dad, I'm a father, and what am I supposed to do? So I had a couple friends who were dads before me. And so I actually did I would call it like a little internship. And I'm like, hey man, I know you got a baby. Can I come around and babysit? I don't know, getting ready. So early, I was already trying to, get that mind frame that, hey, you got a person, you got a baby, I want to learn.
It's intimidating when you find out you're pregnant, and you described that so nicely. And the
Yeah.
way that you handled it is not always how people handle it. I mean, I think a lot of people think I'm not qualified for this, or they just avoid it, or they give up because they don't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
Not just dads, I mean moms too.
Mm-hmm.
But you are really a model of someone who stepped up and someone who said, I might not have these skills, but I can get them and I'm going to find them. And this is what matters. And that's so powerful.
Well, we want to be good role models for our kids. We want to make sure that they see, Black men in a positive light, that we can be educated, that we can be nurturing, that we can be compassionate, and that we care about our children and our families. So we started with a health tour, a health fair, a men's health fair as Dad Evolution, because we found that brothers in African American community don't really go to the doctor as much. We're afraid of, the stigma of going to the doctor, or maybe receiving that news you may not want to hear. We did blood pressure checks. We also talked about essential oils. We talked about caring diabetes. All the issues, some of the issues that plague Black America. And then from there, we did walks with dads, where we invited dads to come out and walk with their kids. You can ride your bikes with your kids. So we're still growing. We still have a lot of fathers who are hesitant because they don't know necessarily about, what do you want? You want money? And like, no, this is just to build a rapport, a relationship, to show that we can do this. And so, we've been chugging along. But due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, we're in a flux right now. We're trying to figure out how we can still service. And one way we did was we're having yoga at 11 a.m. on Zoom, and so we offer it to the kids at school, our kids' classrooms, and we also offer it to the public as well.
And I'd like you to think about the dads in the world and the audience that you'd like to reach. And think about how you felt when you first became a dad and what you know now. What advice do you have to those fathers that are just finding out they're fathers or feel like they weren't good enough and they want to go back? What advice do you have that you could offer them?
I would say that it's never too late. Never be afraid to ask a question. I think that's one of the things about, you're intimidated. It's intimidating. You get this little being in your hands. It's like, what is going on? Never be afraid. Never be afraid to ask, because there are good people out there that are willing to give that advice, if you ask. And that's our biggest thing. We got to get over that hurdle of being afraid to reach out. That's very important. To lend that ear to these young people. They have voices too, and it's impacting them in ways, and it reveals itself in many ways you would never know. Day before yesterday, I had in the garage. I like to work in the garage. I'm old school. All the old school guys in my that I hung out with, they all hang out in the garage now. I'm doing it too. I know what. I'm hanging out in the garage. And so I had a session where for 20 or 30 minutes, you can meet me outside and you can talk about whatever you want. And my job is just to listen because, they have voices too. I got a 16-year-old, how do you feel about, you're going to 11th grade and, how you feel about your friends? What do you miss? I have a middle schooler, how do you feel? What's going on with you and your friends? And how are you dealing with COVID-19? How do you feel about, staying in the house and not being able to go out because of the stay-at-home order?
Listening is huge. It's very refreshing to hear you say that too. I think listening in the world right now is something that we are lacking, and we can
Yeah.
start with our kids, teaching them that we can listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
I love that piece when you say that. And since you decided to be a real critical part of your children's life,
Mm-hmm.
what what do you get out of that? Like what is the best part of being a dad and having that connection with your children?
To experience new things with them, to take them to places that I've never been, is awesome.
I'm so honored to be able to interview you today.
Thank you.
We have been on a hunt, my team and I, to really find some silent heroes,
Yeah.
and we are excited to nominate you as a silent hero and
Oh man.
tell you thank you for everything you're doing. We also want to honor you for Father's Day and say Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.